Good afternoon. Thanks for joining me for today's Lunch and Learn. I'm Keith Armour. I'm the Education and Homework Support Manager down here in the Adult Learning Center at the main library. Last week, we started our series on teacher resources. We talked about educator cards and the importance of having that. And educator cards are anyone that works in the education field and even for homeschool families as well. And that opens up a lot of possibilities, such as our teacher collections, where if you have a group of teachers in your building, you can actually have delivery through our wonderful department outreach services. But if you don't have 5 teachers that want to get together to have teacher collection delivery, you can still have teacher collection with your educator card. And then the last thing I talked about last week was our student cards that go along with the educator card. This is a wonderful card where you as the educator can decide what e-content, an ebook that you want your group of students to actually read and practice. So that opens up a lot of possibilities. So what I'd like you to do today is we're going to focus on teacher resources for the elementary teacher. And let's go ahead and dive right in.
Well, all right. You all should be seeing our wonderful website, cincinnatilibrary.org. Before we get into educator resources for elementary teachers, I do want to click right here just to let you all know that we are having a huge crane delivered on Saturday, August the 21st, and it's going to take place from Saturday to Sunday, August the 22nd. Now, 9th Street between Vine Street and Walnut Street is going to be closed to street traffic and also pedestrian traffic. And our really busy downtown main library drive-through, all of our drive-throughs are very popular, but that's also going to be closed. But if you call this number on Saturday and you would like your materials, we are going to have curbside service on 8th Street between Walnut and Vine Street. So just call that number and we'll rush out and give you your materials. The parking lots at Downtown Library is also going to be closed. Now, our building on Saturday will be open from 10 until 6. You can still go through the Walnut Street entrance to get to the South Building. But on the North Building, where you have the Technology Center, the Adult Learning Center, and then you also have the wonderful Maker Space, that entrance is going to be closed on 9th Street. However, if you go through the Children's Garden, and we will have different signs and everything to point you that direction, that's the way that you're going to get into the North Building. So keep that in mind. This is all part of the downtown main library next generation project, our facility master plan. You see a photo here of all the scaffolding that's going up to replace the skylight in the atrium with a much better design. A lot of skylights do have a definite end date to them, and ours was starting to leak a little bit too much. And so we're replacing with a little bit better design for the wonderful Ohio Valley weather that we have. You can follow all of the next generation projects by clicking there and then here. But this is all of the project that's happening at the main. You can see there's some plaza that's going to be changed, but there's the replacement of the elevators and also the skylight, and we'll need that crane. And what's great is our wonderful team keeps updating all the photos here, so you can watch a lot of the photos and kind of watch it in real time on what is going on at the main library for the next generation. Speaking of the next generation, we are going to go to educator resources to help educators with the resources that they have to teach the next generation. Remember, last week during Lunch and Learn, we talked about the educator card. It is for teachers, tutors, and homeschoolers, and it really gives you a lot more access, a great deal more access to a lot of resources that the library has. And one of them, of course, is getting an educator card. You can click here and get all the information about how to get an educator card that's different than your regular library card. The teacher collection is really cool because As a former elementary teacher who taught over 20 years, I'm telling you, having a fresh group of books that you get to choose the themes and the different things that you would like to try to highlight during that month. It is great being able to get a teacher collection, and you can fill out the form for a teacher collection and then pick those up at your branch library. You also can get, if you have a group of teachers, like 7, 8, 9 teachers in your building that would like to also have a teacher collection, you can have school delivery. And there's a long list of schools that are already participating. So if you're a new teacher, check that list first here. And then if not, gather some teachers in your building to say, hey, I'd like to do this school delivery to save you a little time. We will talk about student cards in just a moment when we talk about e-content. Now, most of you elementary teachers probably are very familiar with BookFlix, but I just want to point this out to you. We're going to skip the introduction.
Click on a category or click on the feature to begin.
Now you see all the categories listed here. You've got animals and nature, adventure, imagination. And what they've done is they have a huge collection of books. And what they do is they pair a fiction with a nonfiction. Now, all of the fiction books are based on award-winning books, but they're made into videos that have the words that actually are on the screen so the kids can read along. Great narration, great animation. It just really makes, it just brings the book alive. And if you can get that particular book in your teacher collection or in your own classroom library, it makes it even better. But then they pair it with a nonfiction. So you've got the great white man eating shark, which is a hilarious story about a little boy who just does not want to share the lagoon. So he puts on a dorsal fin, and because he looks a little bit like a shark. It's a great story. Please check that out. And then the nonfiction, A Sharp Pup Grows Up. And it's a great way to introduce kids to e-content as well, an e-book. So let's go ahead and go right up here. See right here, up here in the right-hand corner, there's a little apple on top of a book. And that's the secret little feature for resources and tools. Now the resources and tools, this is going to be showing, and if I kept scrolling down, it's going to show you 147 pairings of books. But let's just look at these 3 right here. There's several things on here. You'll notice that this is the video, and those are the fiction titles. And then you have the ebooks, and ebooks there, okay? It tells you the grade level, and all of these materials are good for pre-K all the way up to 3rd grade. And it kind of centers, it tells you a little bit better the content, like Amazing Grace, which is a wonderful story about a little girl who would like to play Peter Pan. It's a great story. That's really for 2nd to 3rd grade. You can still read it and still watch it with the preschooler, but it's really made for 2nd and 3rd grade. And then, of course, the wonderful story about Jackie Robinson as well. There's a lot more information here. You see the category under the video area. You see the theme. And look, like I said, these are all award-winning books that have been turned into videos. You also see the running time. And one thing that you can do just with the videos is, I know that weather, speaking of weather earlier with the skylight, I'm telling you, the weather is very weird. So when I taught, I loved taking kids out for recess. We tried to do it in all types of weather, but there does come a time where you just cannot take them out. And these are great short videos. If you have a projector, if you have a smart TV, if you have a smart board, you can definitely have these videos, which the content is great. They're award-winning books. And that could be a video, and there's no way that there's going to be 147 times that you're not going to have outside recess, but that's one way that you can use this resource. The other way is by clicking on the lesson plan. Let's go to Amazing Grace. Oh, before I go on to the lesson plan, notice this little red tag right here. This tag means that these materials are in English and in Spanish. And you'll notice, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. There's a nice collection. Oh, chrysanthemum. I love that story. Let's go back up here to Amazing Grace. But that it has English and in Spanish. So that's very fun. We can play both pair here, but I'm going to go to the lesson plan. You can print out this entire lesson plan. And there it is, teachers. That's what you're looking for, those learning objectives here. And really, whenever you show a video in class, you should always do some before video lessons or an activity to go with it. You, of course, could go over the vocabulary, but you're also going to make sure that you do some of the activities and highlight some things that might happen in the video for the kids to watch out. And then, of course, you want to do some after viewing activities. And then, of course, you have these paired text activities as well. So there's some really great things here. There's an assessment feature, and there's even a curriculum correlations. And Ohio standards are on there, so you can definitely check out that and go directly to those standards to find out what standards are being taught there. All right. So I just think this is a great tool, and a lot of you might not have known that there was this resource there. And I'm going to go back to the home page.
Click on a category or click on the feature to begin.
And once again, it's right here in the top right-hand corner. You click, and then you go to resources. All right. Now I'm going to go back to the educator page. There we go. And I'm going to highlight really quickly Overdrive. Now remember, with an educator card, you can also get student cards for our e-content. So say you want to have some of the kids read this book. I Can Read, The Camping Trip. The I Can Read series is just a great series of books to help those beginner readers. And then you have got Emmanuel's Dream, but you could, with their student cards, check out some material for them. And it's just going to give you content to the e-content that is here. I mean, say if you have a student that is really interested in dinosaurs, wow, this is a huge list of books there. Or books about famous people. And of course, you can always, everybody needs to teach kindness these days. So this is a great series as well. And then, of course, a way to introduce children to chapter books is through e-content. Okay. And I cannot say enough about the Black Joy book list for children and young adults. But with a student card through your educator cards, it just really opens a lot of content for you. Okay. So I'm going to go back. We're going to click over here, and we're going to go to LinkedIn Learning. Now, if I clicked here, another window would pop up, and I would have to put in my library card number and my PIN. But I've already put that in here, so I'm going to click up here. And when you first get here, I just want to highlight a few things that I've already looked at just a little bit. Here is Teaching Techniques Blended Learning. And I don't know if you're if you're going to be fully back in the classroom, or there might be a blended learning model. But here was Teaching Techniques for Blended Learning. The gamification of learning, this was put together back in 2014, but having some games that are tied to learning is just a great way to keep kids engaged. So you might want to watch that. How to design and deliver training programs, and of course, increase learner engagement. Now that's just a few of those. I'm going to go up here to browse right here next to the logo. If I click on browse, you'll notice there's all sorts of them here, all sorts of video content here, but you scroll all the way down and it goes training and education, and then there's K through 12 education. You click there, and that will bring up all of the content. And there's actually 35 results. Now remember, this is for kindergarten all the way up to grade 12. But if you're looking for some professional development and trying to learn something new, you can, of course, learn new things about Microsoft and creating slides for Google and all sorts of other things on here. But when you want to focus on education, this is great. Oh, for homeschoolers, supporting your kids learning at home, um, visual thinking strategies, learning about algebra. I need to do that one again. But some really great things here. There's PowerPoint 365 for educators, and just some great things that you might not know about. Okay. Oh, I just saw that Google Classroom. I do want to point out that in Bookflix, you could put some there is a Google Classroom icon on there, and you can tie that content to your Google Classroom. So keep that in mind. All right, we're slowly running out of time, so let me go back to educators now. So another thing I want to point out is our help now. But before I go there, what I'd like to do is go back to our main site and go to research databases and then go to homework help. Because elementary teachers, there are things on this page that would be very helpful if you're going to assign certain things or if you want to gather information for a particular lesson. We'll come back to homework help now in just a moment. I do want to point out biography and context is wonderful. They have over 5,000 biographies from people from the past and also from the present. They also divide it up into different categories. So you've got contemporary world leaders, African Americans, Native American singers. There's that BTS, that Korean boy band, I do believe. And then you've got Summer Olympics are even on here as well. And you'll notice that some of the biographies have been updated on here. But remember, there are over 5,000 here. And let's just go ahead and click on Taylor Swift. She seems to be pretty popular. So there's some quick facts about her. We could read more here in this short biography. There's actually 5 biographies here. There's over 3,000 news articles, 104 images. There's a website, there's audio, and then there's magazines as well. So this is a great way to gather information about a particular person. If you are assigning, if you're an upper elementary teacher and you're assigning a biography, this might be a great way to get some electronic resources that are always, it's more up to date than one of our books. And speaking of Google Classroom, there it is again. You can tie this content to your Google Classroom as well. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to go back. So Culturegrams is another one that you might want to use. It is a wonderful site. They have a children's edition, and this is really for kindergarten, well, really 3rd grade up to 6th grade. And you pick the continent, and let's say we're going to pick Africa. And then you can pick any country in Africa, let's say South Africa. And then you're going to get some basic facts right there. You can get a map, a detailed map and an outline map. You can get the flag. You can even print out the flag. There's an infographic here as well. And then there's all of these other things here. You can get a full report. You can print out the report. There's photo galleries. There's slideshows. There's interviews. There's famous people. There's even recipes that go along with the country. And then there's some other little tools down here as well. And look at that, teaching activities are right there. So if you're going to be teaching about the continents and then also teaching about a particular country, then you've got teacher activities that are down here as well. And this is one of my favorites, is lifestyle, like games and sports. What holidays do they celebrate in South Africa? What food? What's the schools like? and what's life as a kid. And that's what's really fun on here. You can get some great information. I'm going to go back. You can also do this for the states. So if I click here on North America and click on the United States, then I'm going to find out some information about the United States. Okay. But I'm going to go back up here to Culturegrams, and I want to go to the state edition. So if I click here and you want to do a little lesson on Ohio, there is the entire lesson for Ohio. All right. So I'm going to go back, and there's other ones that you can explore. There's Gale and Context that are just for elementary teachers and elementary students. And of course, don't forget about our World Book Advanced here, but there's also World Book for Kids. And I think this would be a great thing to be able to introduce something new every day, because they have a rotation feature here, so you can explore different things. You could read about the Forbidden City. You could read about snow monkeys, bees, and helicopters. There's always something new here. So this is a great way to introduce kids to the encyclopedia. And we're going to go back one more. Let me tell you a little bit about homework help up here. Because recently when I started teaching an English class for ESOL adults, I started realizing, this tool right here, Help Now, is actually perfect for them. And live tutoring is what this site is mainly about. And that is the live tutoring, and you want to let your kindergartners all the way up to college level students know that they can get live help 7 days a week from 2 until 11 at night. And of course, you can submit writing, you can submit writing in the writing lab. But this is the feature I want to point out to you educators. If you click right here on Skill Surfer, you go to the lower elementary, click right here, and you've got math, reading, and science. And this is for kindergarten all the way up to second grade here. And then the upper elementary, you've got reading, writing, math, science, and social studies. And it goes all the way up from grade 3 to grade 5. So say I'm teaching grade 4 math. All right. Teaching grade 4 math, there's some practice tests that are here, but these are the different strands. You've got operations and algebraic thinking. I can't speak today. Number operations, you've got operations and fractions, and here's some flashcards for you. And then if you're learning how to round numbers, let's just click that one. And maybe you just need one more lesson. Sometimes when you're teaching, you've used all the materials that you currently have, and you just need one more lesson to get the concept down. And with so many of you with projectors and TVs and smart boards, this is a great tool that you could use where the goal is to learn how to round numbers. You could project this. You could be having students read different sections. You could have the examples there. You could have them all have whiteboards and with dry erase markers. And you could say, okay, let's everybody do number 1. And then they hug it to their chest. And then as soon as you give the clue, you snap your fingers or you ring a bell, then all of the students raise their dry erase board above them, and you automatically see who's getting it and who might not be getting it. Then you have them erase it. You, of course, tell them the answer, and then you move on to the next one, okay? But here is the concept here, and then there's the practice. So it makes it so much easier. You don't have to create the content on a slide or on a PowerPoint. It's already there for you. And also, sometimes the answers are on here too for you, which is just really great to double check. All right. So I love this site for that reason. I'm going to go back here to the home, and it's Skill Surfer. And we're talking about anything. So say I am teaching third grade reading and we're doing main idea. Well, I want to do one more lesson. We've talked about main idea like for 2 weeks, and yet there's 3 kids that are still not getting it. You really want to make sure they get it. Well, here is another lesson on main idea, and you're going to have a short story, and then you're going to have you're going to find out, and even you can put in fact and opinion on here as well. So there's all these different concepts that go along with this. All right, I could go on, but I do want to make sure that you realize that the homework help section that's right here has a whole bunch of different things that you might find as an elementary educator very, very useful, and a lot of different resources that are there as well. And of course, don't forget about the educator resources there. All right, real quick, events happening this weekend. We've got Madisonville Sewing Group. We've got virtual class for Google Docs. We've got some in-person stuff. After school program at Westwood is Kahoot Weekly Trivia, and that's for teens and children. Virtual story time is still taking place, and that is from 9:30 to 10. So definitely check that out. Let me click out and tell you a few more things, and we'll call it a day.
Well, all right, there are some more resources that are just a click away for the elementary teacher. You've got Tumble Books, you've got Bookflix, you've got World Book for Kids, you have Culturegrams where you can find out anything about any country or state in the world. So that's great, where the kids can actually do some reports. Biography and Context is also a great resource to talk about famous people from the past and also the present. And then, of course, that Skill Surfer section that's on Homework Help Now. We know that as the tutoring section of our website, but it also is a great teaching tool for Skill Surfer. So you can have a quick lesson that can be projected on one of your smart TVs or smart boards or projectors. Just a really quick lesson that you can have just to go over another skill that is for your grade level. So next week, we are going to talk about the resources for middle and high school teachers. And of course, don't forget about the sewing group that's happening on Saturday at Madisonville from 10 to 11. And then, of course, mini terrariums for adults. That is happening at Green Hills. So check it out, and I'll see you next week for Lunch and Learn. Thanks. Have a good weekend.